Judge Tony Capizzi, everybody. Make you welcome. Come on, man.
Thank you.
How about that?
Great
He
job,
was so
Doc.
excited to be on the Rob Dennis show. He couldn't wait to be here.
How are you? It's so good
How
to see you
doing,
again.
buddy? How you doing?
Great.
I love it when they're so excited to come up here that they don't even wait to be introduced. They just run right up. That makes me feel good, buddy.
Well, between what you're all doing on the show, the great entertainment, the Doc's
Pretty cool.
conversation, pretty good
cool.
stuff. It is.
And now we have one of the finest judges in the world sitting in this chair. We talked for a long time before the show. And he kind of asking me what questions I was going to ask. And he is a juvenile judge. And me just thinking that in an adult court, you're probably looking up there saying, you know, you're old enough, you should have known better. I know everybody makes mistakes. But when you get juveniles in there, it has to be so much harder to make a decision that you're happy with.
Rob, you know what's different about what we do? In adult court, when someone's guilty of something, you normally send them in prison. And you warehouse people, frankly.
Yeah.
The juvenile court's different. We've decided, we understand as a society that children are not just little adults.
Yeah.
And so they have to be rehabilitated. And so I have to balance a lot of things, as you sort of describe it. I have to balance off the victims who've been hurt or things stolen from them. But I also have to think about, how do I help this child? It's a challenge. Too many families in this community don't take care of their kids.
Yeah.
You know, life's tough. I've had all kinds of cases where you have young men and women. Today, I had a number of cases where they just don't think about what they're doing. In the old days, a child would rob a bicycle.
Yeah.
That's so much gone nowadays. Now they rob somebody's cell phone. But what happens is they have a weapon when they do it.
Yeah.
They don't think. They don't think that if I carry a gun, I know it sounds crazy, but they say they're going to carry it for defensive purposes.
Yeah.
So they carry a gun, they steal somebody's cell phone. Well, a cell phone now is worth $700.
Yeah.
So it turns a petty theft in the old days to what's called an aggravated robbery with a gun spec.
Yeah.
And these kids have no understanding. I sort of joke about it at times when I say, my children are in their 30s, two in my 30s, two in their 20s. They're all very successful. There are days I wonder if they have any common sense. They're very successful. So how do we expect a 14-year-old, a 16-year-old to understand what society's like, how to meet the challenges of society? It's tough.
Before that child comes before you, because I don't know, do you spend time with the parents and talk to the parents before they actually come in to the courtroom?
I really can't.
Okay.
And let me describe something else, because sometimes people get confused about what juvenile court is.
Okay.
In juvenile court, I deal with those kids you all think about, the ones that are juvenile delinquent allegedly.
Oh, okay.
But and I have about 8,000 of those a year in my court. I also have 1,000 children in my court who aren't there for any fault of their own. In other words, they have been abused, they've been neglected, or they're dependent because their family doesn't take care of them. So for those kinds of cases where children are dependent or abused, we talk to the parents about, why would you ever do this?
Yeah.
But when I have a child in front of me on a criminal case, that if they would have been adult, it'd be a criminal case, then I don't have the right to talk to the parents at a time, because I'm supposed to be the trier of fact. I'm supposed to not assume they're guilty. I can't. I have to wait to the evidence. So I can't speak to them. I speak to their lawyers before the child comes in, but I never get to speak to the parents ahead of time. It would be inappropriate. I wish I could some days, but it still isn't legal.
What made you decide to go into the juvenile court instead of adult court? There must have been some decision you made to...
Rob, I practiced law in Montgomery County, in this community, in this region, for 25 years before I got on the bench. Yeah. I always wanted to be a juvenile court judge.
Okay.
For 25 years, I represented children in juvenile court. I acted as their guardian. It's called the guardian ad litem. Mm-hmm. When their parents didn't take care of them, I did. I represented children for years. And I just love that practice, because most people don't.
Yeah.
Most lawyers go to work for a place where they can make as much money as they can. And frankly, when you represent children in juvenile court, their families have no money. Many times I was court appointed. And I just thought there was a need for somebody on the bench who cared about children, who cared about families. And what I really say to my wife is that I practiced law for 25 years until I found the career I love. And the career is being a judge in Montgomery County, helping children and families.
Oh, that's super.
Yeah.
So you're doing your dream.
I am. I'm really enjoying what I do because I can make a difference. You know, another thing with adults, sometimes they're past being helped. Not all the time, don't get me wrong. But with children, I can really make a difference. This community comes together. We have a natural helpers program where I ask for volunteers to come and help us help these families. A lot of times now, we have 60-year-old grandparents or great-grandparents who never thought they would be actually having to take care of a 5-year-old. And so society's changed so much, and so they need help. I've never found a parent who wants their child to fail. I've never have. But they don't have the skills to help their child succeed. So we need to help those families, supplement what they know. You know, we have too many young mothers. I had 2 young mothers in my court today, they're 14. And that's a shame.
Yeah.
They need help. And so we as a society, though, can make a big difference.
Their kids themselves.
They are kids themselves, absolutely. But we can make a difference, and we have made a difference. I can see the difference in the eyes of children and their parents or grandparents who come to court. You know, they just need services. They need, and we are blessed in this community. Thank God for the United Way. You know, we have a combined levy in this community to take care of not only seniors but children. And that levy gives us a lot of benefit in Montgomery County. I feel sorry for some of the suburban counties that don't have the same assets we have. You know, I run the largest drug court in Ohio. I have 120 kids in my drug court. These are young people who have challenged lives. They abuse drugs. In many cases, their parents and grandparents abuse drugs. So how do I teach a 12-year-old don't smoke a joint when they're at home and their parents are smoking joints? That's really sad. And so we work with these kids. It's a struggle, but we make a big difference. And so it's people like you that help me bring out this to the community, that with the community's help, we can help these children, we can help these families, and then we help our community. You know, you don't want to have your house robbed. I don't want to have that happen. And so by helping these kids, we can stop them from maybe committing another crime.
You know, I love it when you said, and I've said this several times, I love to hear somebody say in your position, I love what I do. Because when you make that statement, and I had a child that was a problem child, I would feel so comfortable bringing him to your court. When you say, I love what I do, what's the old saying? If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Right?
Perhaps. Thank you
Thanks
so
for coming.
much.
I appreciate it.
Great to be here.
See, we learned a lot from this.
Okay.
But I wanted to know.